Hello, it is Michael Linson of Smart Classroom Management. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make timeout work in your classroom. What I mean by work is I'm going to show you and teach you how to make timeout so effective that it actually curbs misbehavior, even with your most challenging students. Now, we're going to go over three particular concepts that are really game-changing concepts that you've probably never heard before. I think at Smart Classroom Management, we're the only ones talking about these things. And it's also why we really push for the importance of using timeout in the classroom. I think it's really, really important. It is not, the way we use it isn't a harsh, it isn't a dunce cap punishment or anything like that. It's a way for students to naturally reflect on their misbehavior. And I'm going to show you how to leverage timeout again so it really, really improves behavior. Before we get there, please do me a favor and subscribe to this channel. If you haven't done so already, it will really help us out. Give us a thumbs up. Give this video a thumbs up. Comment below. It'll push it out there to teachers who could really use it. Misbehavior is and has been skyrocketing for several years, and this can really, really help. So we're going to talk about three really important concepts. The first is contrasting experience. The second is eliminating excuses. And the third is the idea of unprompted reflection. So contrasting experience, this refers to how a student feels sitting in timeout versus how they feel sitting in their assigned seats. So as being a regular contributing member of your classroom compared to sitting in a timeout seat, which would be off to the side in your classroom. The truth is, if that experience is no different for students, then timeout won't be effective. And in most classrooms that I visit that are struggling, when a teacher sends that student to timeout, they could care less. Because to them, it's no different than sitting in the classroom. To put it another way, for timeout to be effective, that student needs to sit there and think to themselves, I don't want to be here, I want to be there. In that moment, I want to be there, I don't want to be here. And if you can do that, then timeout automatically becomes effective. It's something that runs in the back of their mind all the time throughout the school day, is that I want to stay here and be a regular, valuable member of the classroom rather than being off to the side and having some of my rights as a member of the classroom be taken away. Now, this is not a video for those sorts of details about what timeout looks like and how to send students to timeout, all those kinds of things. We'll cover that in future videos. This is also a topic we've covered extensively. There's a whole category on timeout at the Smart Classroom Management website that you can check out. Tons of free articles about timeout. So to kind of break down how to make sure that your classroom is set up in such a way that that's the experience that you have, this contrasting experience. It really boils down to a real core principle of Smart Classroom Management is that your students must enjoy being in your classroom. And this is all students need to enjoy, need to look forward to coming to your classroom. Now, there's many, many ways to do this. Again, we've covered this again and again and again, probably more than any other topic at Smart Classroom Management. Most of our books also discuss this particular topic and how to do it. But just know, a huge goal of yours on the very first day of school and every day thereafter is, I want my students to enjoy being in the classroom. And not just for the classroom management benefits, but for the learning benefits. When they come and they want to be there, they're going to learn so much more and learn so much better and have so much more motivation. So it's really the kind of the one strategy that heals so many wounds, makes everything for your students and for yourself so much easier. And so when I'm asked, and I'm asked often, like, what's your goal on the first day, first week of school? It's always that my students love coming to class. This gives you leverage. It makes your timeout automatically effective. It even makes a warning, if you're giving a warning as part of your classroom management plan, effective in curbing future misbehavior. Okay, so just know this concept of contrasting experience between sitting in timeout and being a regular member of the classroom must be very, very different. I always think in terms of, I want to widen that gap more and more and more and more, and every student has a price where the last thing they want to do is sit in that timeout seat. Second concept is eliminating excuses. So we don't want our students sitting in timeout and pointing the finger elsewhere for their misbehavior, blaming you or blaming another student, or thinking to themselves, I didn't do anything wrong. The way we do this and the way we avoid that happening is you're teaching your classroom management plan again in the beginning of the school year. And anytime there's ever a question or gray area, what does and doesn't constitute breaking the rules of your classroom, you need to teach and model in extreme detail. And this is the reason. There can be no question what each rule means and what behaviors break those rules. Your students have to know this, backwards and forwards in order for them to be sitting in timeout and actually reflecting on their misbehavior, actually thinking to themselves, I want to be there and not here. Because if they are thinking to themselves, I didn't do anything wrong, or, the teacher, he puts me in timeout for calling out, but he didn't put such and such in timeout for calling out. So this is part also, eliminating excuses. You teach and you promise to follow your classroom management plan to a T. You promise to follow your rules and consequences of the class precisely, like a referee. You call them like you see them, you observe and supervise, and every single time a student breaks a rule, you have to follow through. Because if you don't, they're going to be sitting in timeout thinking that you were unfair because you're inconsistent. But when you're consistent and the student knows that you follow through every time, and they know that they broke a rule, they know the rules so well that they feel themselves breaking the rule. They know the rules so well that every time it feels like a personal choice they're making to break a rule, which also keeps them from breaking rules. But when that happens, they're sitting there and they know that the responsibility is on them. They don't have anyone to blame but themselves. This is really, really key. So you have to eliminate excuses through teaching your plan and then promising to follow through and then actually following through every time. Third concept, unprompted reflection. So we're going to talk about time in a moment, but first this idea of hands off. So when you promise to follow your classroom management plan to a T, you're also going to promise your students that you're going to let your classroom management plan do the job for you. You're going to let timeout do its good work without your interference. Because if I show anger when that student misbehaves, if I lecture that student, if I glare at that student, if I question that student like a trial lawyer, if I tell that student what to think and how to feel, if I'm pulling them aside and discussing their misbehavior and all these things, I'm creating resentment, friction between me and that student. And so when you do send them to timeout, instead of, you can do both of these right. But again, they may be sitting there and instead of reflecting on their misbehavior, they're angry at you. They'll want to misbehave because they want to get under your skin because there's friction. They don't like you, and you've shown you don't like them because they're disrupting your class. And so you must, for effective classroom management, especially in this day and age, you have to let your classroom management plan and the consequences, the rules and consequences, do all of the work for you. Your only job is to follow it like a referee, like a robot. You just follow through and that's it. Has nothing to do with you. And what will happen is the students won't see you as being the opposition. They'll just see you just doing what you said you were going to do, which actually builds more trust and likability and enjoy being in your classroom because you're treating them with respect. And they don't have anyone else to blame, again, except themselves. They don't have anyone to get angry with or to be disappointed in except themselves. And they're disappointed in themselves because, again, they want to be there. They don't want to be here. And so you must have completely hands off. It's why at Smart Classroom Management, we don't recommend pulling students aside to discuss their misbehavior. We don't recommend telling them what to think and how to feel and all these sorts of things. Now, this idea of time is important because we want to give that student enough time to process all these things. And they do naturally if you leave them alone. And if they do it naturally and they come to the conclusion themselves that they don't want to misbehave, they want to be part of your classroom, then change happens. And change only happens if they decide for themselves. If you tell them, they're going to resist it. But if you make the conditions, you set up the conditions in such a way that they reflect automatically on their misbehavior, then behavior changes. They change. They become different people. And again, I don't care how challenging a student that you have. If they experience this, it's human nature, it's going to work, and it's going to change them. It's going to be life-changing for them. But they need time. Most timeouts, when I'm visiting schools and classrooms and talking to teachers, this idea of sending a student to timeout for 2 minutes is ridiculous. It's not enough time. Or however old they are, that's how many minutes they sit in timeout. You hear that. So if they're 6 years old, 6 minutes in timeout. Again, ridiculous. Even for kindergarten students, 12 to 15 minutes. Because they need a chance to think and reflect on their misbehavior. They need a chance to see, as they're sitting there, it may take a couple minutes before they think to themselves, I want to be there, I don't want to be here. I want to be part of the class, a class that I love and want to be part of. And so you have to give them time. Now the thing of it is over the course of a school year, if you have your timeouts, 12 to 15 minutes, they're going to spend a lot less time there over the course of a school year than if you just have them sitting there half that time. Half that time isn't enough. Now, if you've been using really short timeouts and you want to kind of build up to it, 8-10 minutes, it's better. But again, even for kindergartners, 12 minutes is minimum. And if these two are in place and you give them time and you're hands off, you'll see a dramatic improvement in behavior in your classroom. So, contrasting experiences between timeout and being a regular member of your class, eliminating all excuses so they naturally reflect on their misbehavior, taking you out of the picture completely and giving them enough time to reflect. And what will happen is, of their own accord, they'll make decisions, conscious decisions to improve their behavior. And this can be a real game changer for you as a teacher. And so please put these into effect. If you want to know details, go to smartclassroommanagement.com. There's a whole category on timeout, on like how to send students there, how to teach timeout, the purpose of timeout, all those sorts of things. Tons and tons of articles that you can find there. In the meantime, hope you're having a great week. See you next time.